Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. In the previous video, we're talking about what was going to be discussed in the conference. Independence, that's all. But there was a mention about bringing in rules that meant that ministers and councillors, anyone, public office, would not be able to spread fake news, give misleading information, dubious statistics, that kind of thing. That would be punishable. How the hell are the SNP going to function? But anyway, goes to show, now that I'm dealing with that, and I mentioned it in the last one, and I said I'd be doing it in this one, didn't I? See, I don't just throw these things together, There is planning and editing. But anyway, we're going to wonder how, first of all, the SNP are going to function if they can't tell lies. And secondly, what kind of punishments there could be. Now, of course, where Humza Yousaf needs to be really thankful is ex post facto, which is the principle that everything is legal until it is made specifically illegal. But once it is made illegal, anything committed before the law, you cannot go back and sort of subsequently prosecute for. That's the only thing that's going to save his bacon. And I used the word bacon deliberately there. But, he's one of the worst inveterate liars in the chamber. And yet he wants to bring this in to stop him lying. It's going to be the end of the SNP. But let's have a look anyway, see what's going on and why they're not going to be allowed to lie anymore. Here goes. So SNP ministers face party crackdown on spreading fake news after Humza Yousaf scandals. Yeah, because the man opens his mouth and lies all the time. It's all he does. Anyway, the likes of Humza Yousaf, Murray Foot and Angus Robertson have been collared previously for spreading disinformation and could be disciplined by their own party if caught doing so again. They actually need to make it a law and make it that they're prosecutable. The SNP could finally crack down on members spreading disinformation, including false statistics. Humza Yousaf. In a move which could strike fear into the hearts of the likes of Humza Yousaf, Murray Foot and Angus Robertson. A motion to bring in punishment for making untrue comments will be debated at the party's conference this weekend, and it will be debated and then it'll be immediately thrown out because they know if they bring this in and they get punished every time they open their mouth and tell something that isn't true, they'll spend half their working week trying to answer this and going off and getting told off because they're all inveterate liars. The whole of the SNP is built on lying because they can never, ever tell the truth. So yeah, they're talking a good game, but it isn't going to come in. Let's not kid ourselves. These people will not bring this in. However, I think it should be in as a law. Should go through as a law. Anyway, according to critics, the Nationalists have made disinformation a speciality. With doubts raised whether the chaotic internal struggles would even allow such a policy to work. Of course it won't. They are never going to pass this, are they? Infighting and failure to investigate bad behaviour, including sex scandals, have plagued the party for a number of years. When you look at them, there was Kerr was the worst, wasn't it? But there's also Grady and your one up in Jordan Linden. They are a party of pervs, preds and peds, aren't they? They're a bunch of absolute scum. Anyway, prominent SNP politicians have also been involved in making false statements to both Holyrood and also to journalists. No shit, Sherlock. And if they do so again, they could face punishment internally, but they won't. One of the most high profile of these is the ongoing saga involving the First Minister allegedly misleading Parliament. There's no allegedly about it. He lied to Parliament, and I'll say that quite openly without fear of prosecution. He lied because the words that came out of his mouth were untrue and therefore a lie. Sue me. You can't, because I'm right. The great thing about making accusations is the one defence in law you have is, are you right? Yes, I am. He lied. Anyway, he has faced growing calls to submit himself to the independent adviser for breaching the ministerial code over a renewables comment he made in Parliament, which was untrue, a lie. But he hasn't sent himself off to the independent adviser because, he's never wrong, is he? He wrongly told MSPs that Scotland had the majority of the UK's renewable energy resources, when in fact it had about a quarter of the capacity. Quite clearly fibbing. This was challenged by the Scottish Tory MP Liam Kerr using a point of order that same session, but he had to wait months for the official reply. And Mr. Yousaf claimed he'd always meant to say per capita, but even this was disputed by a Freedom of Information request, which found that civil servants had actually spent the weeks coming up with an excuse for him to use. So he's saying he told something there, it was clearly a lie. He then comes back months later and says, I meant to say per capita. And it was in between the two that they actually did the research to show it could be per capita. But of course that was dated, that report was dated after he did the initial lie. So he couldn't possibly have known that it was per capita. And therefore, 2 lies. And that's not all of them. He then fails to make the appropriate apologies and has to be told 3 times to apologise. And eventually the speaker, or the adjudicator, says, you have to apologise to me personally as well. And then it was the most grudging apology you could get. Anyway, another infamous example of the SNP spreading fake news, or lies, was when they briefed against the Sunday Mail, who reported that 30,000 members had abandoned the party. I'm surprised it's only 30,000, although it has gone up since, hasn't it? The then head of media and now chief executive Murray Foot the liar called this drivel. And yet it wasn't. And there he is, a man who lied to the press. Now, unbeknowingly lied, but still lied, and therefore a liar. SNP, filled with liars. Who'd have thought it? But then, in the SNP leadership contest, the official figures were published and it was revealed that the newspaper was in fact correct and that Mr. Foot and Mr. Murrell had lied. Angus Robertson refused to even apologise to Holyrood after being caught out spreading more renewables information. He told officials, including foreign ones, that Scotland has 25% of Europe's potential offshore wind resources, even after civil servants warned him not to do that. Don't say it because it's quite clearly lies. And now they want to bring this rule in, saying if you lie, you get punished. What? There's not one of them capable. There's not one. They never tell the truth. They always lie. Even when there's no reason to lie, they lie. They never want to get into the habit of telling the truth. The Scottish Tories welcome the news of a crackdown on disinformation, but question whether it would actually happen. And of course the answer to that is never in a million years is this going to happen. Scottish Conservative MSP for Glasgow, Annie Wells, told the Scottish Daily Express, it's great that the SNP want to tackle disinformation, since it's their own party that's made it a speciality. Well done, Annie. On everything from wind capacity to ferry passenger numbers, they've spouted figures they've then needed to correct. But making it a disciplinary offence probably won't sort the problem, given their dismal record on dealing with their internal scandals. The motion wants the new rules added to the end of the Code of Conduct for members, and it reads, members of the Scottish National Party are expected not to knowingly redistribute disinformation on matters of public import in digital, print or media form. That shouldn't be the internal workings of the SNP. That should be for all politicians. That should be a rule in the House. Disinformation is defined here as deliberately misleading, biased or altogether false information, knowingly shared to distort and manipulate public debate and or to discredit democratic institutions and processes. For misleading, biased or false information to be classified as disinformation, the false material disseminated has to be spread with a deliberate intent to deceive. And that last line, 4 words, deliberate intent to deceive. Everything the SNP do and say is a deliberate intent to deceive. We all know it. It's not a surprise. Unintentional spread of false information, satire and subjective opinion are therefore not considered disinformation and are not subject to disciplinary action under this clause. Examples of disinformation include, but are not limited to, deepfakes, falsified photos, counterfeit websites, shortened citations that exclude vital context, faulty statistics, conspiracy theories, as well as other things. And in the case of the SNP, everything they say. So there they are, bunch of liars who want to vote on punishing those who lie. Not going to happen, is it? Never going to happen, because that party lives on lies. It's lies to the SNP are like oxygen to everyone else. Oh well. Coming up. There is a saying in politics, never believe anything until it's officially denied. But with the SNP, it's just never believe anything. And that's where it stops. You can't trust them. Everything they say is a lie. Because if they train themselves to lie at every point, because they don't want to ever accidentally tell the truth, in case the wrong truth is let out of the bag. And they admit the things that they know are truly awful. Because for the SNP, the truth would destroy them. The truth is awful for them. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching this. I mean that. That's true, I do thank you for it. I'm not SNP. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and never, ever believe a word they say. Bye.